everyone, I'm back with my favorite reads of 2025 novel edition. So I just finished my favorite manga and manhwa reads of 2025, so that video is already uploaded. But I wanted to do a separate video for my favorite novels of 2025 because I got really into Danmei in 2025, and I read a lot more novels last year than I did in years previous. I will have timestamps below if you want to skip between months, and in the video description, I will have a list of all of the titles that I talk about in this video. So I'm gonna jump right in. For January, my favorite read of the month was Codename Anastasia. I read volume 5 in January, and overall just have really been enjoying this series. Volumes 1 to 4 of Codename Anastasia are like part 1 of the novel series. And then volume 5 is like a side story standalone novel. And then from volume 6 on is part 2. So I've only read through, I think, volume 6 or 7 of Codename Anastasia. And novel 3 and novel 4 have been my favorites so far. But in January, I read volume 5 and enjoyed that one as well. Most of this side story follows Taekju when he's separated from Zhenya, and he's just spending a lot of time reflecting on their relationship with each other, some of his good qualities that he misses when they're separated, but then also all of the things that make him fume with rage. But it was a nice standalone volume just for him to kind of be reflecting on that. I'm excited that there is an official English digital release of Codename Anastasia that started in 2025. And once it gets to volumes 3 and 4, I'm planning to go back and read it again because I had read fan translations. But for now, it's just a digital release, and I'm really hoping that there will be a publisher who picks it up for a print release because it's a story that I would like to have, and I did really enjoy the novels. For February, my favorite novel read of the month was Itachi's story, Midnight. And this is the second book of a 2-part light novel that follows Itachi's childhood leading up to the Uchiha incident. I really liked both of these novels, and just getting to see what happened from his point of view as well as leading up to it, all of his motivations and external motivators and his inner turmoil and inner monologue throughout as well was just super good, and just felt like such a treat to get that extra information after having read these scenes in Naruto from the eyes of other people, then getting to see it from his point of view. So really enjoyed this one. Through 2025, I've read through all of the Naruto light novels that have been released in English so far. So I am caught up, and I'll be looking forward to any future ones that get English print releases. The one I'm most excited for to hopefully get is Gaara's story, hoping that we will get that one because I would really like to see more about him and from his point of view and his inner monologue. But in February, this was my favorite read for novels. And then March was the start of my Danmei journey, and this was the first Danmei I read and my favorite read of the month. The cover illustration is a little different from what is on my favorites template because I had read the ebook, which has a different cover, and then when I picked up the physical, I was able to get the official copy in print, which is gorgeous, but then I also really like the ebook cover as well. But this Danmei series is just this one volume. It is an angsty romance series that follows 2 adults who are in a fake relationship with each other. The main character has gone through some painful things and had a painful separation from his boyfriend, and the other main character approached him to be in a fake relationship with him in exchange for employment with his company, as well as having all of his living expenses covered, because that guy's younger sister is now dating the main character's ex-boyfriend, and he does not want the main character to still be available in the eyes of his ex. But as the story goes, there is more to it than that. I forgot to mention the main character had a hand injury that basically kept him from pursuing his field. He was an artist and was no longer able to do that work anymore. And that's why he was in need of financial assistance and why this offer was appealing to him. But I really love this story. It is quite spicy as the 2 men who, while they're in a fake relationship, are having a physical relationship with each other. But as the story continues, things are revealed, and I really love the relationship development, and the story becomes so romantic, despite the painful things in the first half of the story. But really, really love this one. And while this was my favorite read of March and my first Danmei, this is currently my favorite Danmei. I am so happy that my start of reading Danmei was a series that I really would love. My favorite read of April was Dawning. And the print on demand copy has the cover like right on the front, but the copy that the publisher released has this like opposite flap thing. So I'm just going to hold this open so that you can enjoy this image here on volume 3 of Dawning. But this was another modern Danmei series that I read early on and really loved it. This one is kind of more set in the entertainment industry. It follows an actor who re-encounters his ex-boyfriend who has recently taken over his management company and fires him and blacklists him. So he is just furious because they already split on bad terms, and now he's come back into his life and is seeming to be set on making his life difficult. I was so agitated when I read through the first volume and into the second volume because the main character goes through so many humiliating things, and it's so painful for him remembering that previous relationship. But I love this one so much. It becomes so romantic by the end. From the main character's point of view and from the reader's point of view, there are a lot of things that you aren't aware of until later on. So then as things are revealed, then things start to make more sense about why they happened. And in addition to just becoming a really romantic story, I really loved both of the two character types. The ex-boyfriend is very cold, very aloof, and the main character is very confident, very outgoing. He has an arrogance that is based in reality. He's worked really hard and become really successful, and he's very good looking, and so he knows all of this and uses it to his advantage. But this is another top favorite Danmei series of mine, Dawning. I love it. Only 3 volumes, so it's a pretty short one compared to other series that are out there. I had 2 favorite reads in May. The first was Guardian, and I do own this book, but I'm currently doing an annotation project with a friend, so she has my volumes. But Guardian is another 3-volume series. It's set in the modern day, but has sections of the story that are historical. So for me, that was my first taste of historical Danmei, even though it was in a modern set Danmei. But I really enjoyed Guardian. It's in my top 5 Danmei. I've become a fan of the author Priest, and this was my first read of hers. But this was a different kind of read for me because it did have more supernatural elements than what I was used to reading. The main character is part of a security department that deals with issues between the netherworld and the mortal realm when things overlap that shouldn't. And he encounters a university professor that he immediately has a strong attraction to, and their romance through the series is really beautiful. The main underlying plot of the series is a big mystery that the main character is trying to unravel. And so there were some parts that were a little confusing and complicated, but because my first read-through was part of an annotation project, I was taking notes and making markings and tabbing, and I just felt like because I really took my time reading it and really thought about it through each chapter, I was able to follow along as the different plot points were revealed. So I was really happy about that, and then especially in the side stories following the main story, had some really moving extras that I really loved. And then in addition to Guardian, my other favorite read in May was You're Too OP, which is a single volume story and set in university with a lot of gaming and esports content. I really liked both of the main characters. They're both gamers who live stream. It was fun as the reader too, just kind of seeing the games that they would play. They weren't games that I was familiar with at all with that type of play. So I was learning about things as they would be describing them, and I had fun with that. I also really liked their dynamic, and as the story went, the development of their relationship, the things that brought them closer together, the way that they would deal with problems together. This one was really low angst, low drama, just a really feel-good read with a lot of good humor and sweet moments and just little cute things that were really fun. And this one is not like spicy throughout, but it did have some spice at the end. It does say for mature readers, but it was not nearly as spicy as The Missing Piece and Dawning, but it did have little bits of spice through the second half and at the end. But really enjoyed this one, and this is one on my husband's TBR that I think he's going to enjoy because of the gaming and university setting. My favorite read for June was Kakashi's story, specifically this one, The Six Hokage and the Failed Prince. I really, really enjoyed this one. I thought the setting was really fun, that Kakashi is going to this faraway nation and infiltrating to find out what exactly has been going on there that has been causing suspicion. And then when he pinpoints what the problems are, he has to make some fast decisions because he went there on a solo mission. So it is really fun. It's really action-packed. I feel like this is a treat for Kakashi fans. It's also a big treat for any Kakeiru fans, which is me, because there are a few times, Iruka's not in it, but there are a few times in this volume that he is reflecting on things and thinking about Iruka, and just a lot of passages that had me squealing, that had me laughing, just Kakashi's silliness, and then also some good action as he does go into battle through part of the story. But this is the first part of like a 3-part novel series. The next part follows Sasuke and Sakura, and then the third part follows Naruto. And in Naruto's story, they all kind of come back and are all in Naruto's story. But this one is fine to be read as a standalone or to read through all 3 volumes. But this was my favorite read of June, but also my favorite of all of the Naruto novels so far. So this one's my favorite, and then my next favorite are the 2 Itachi story novels. But I really loved it. This is one that I did tab and highlight as I read, just because there were so many parts that had me squealing and laughing, and parts that I just really loved. So really enjoyed this one. I had 2 favorite reads in July, and one of them was Dear Benjamin, which I am going to talk about in a later month because the volume 2 was my favorite read of another month. So I really enjoyed volume 1, which I read in July. And then in November is when I read volume 2 and really liked it as well. So I'll talk about it a bit more in November. But my other favorite read of July was Limerence. I was really excited to read this one because it was also a university set gaming series focused on esports. This was actually a really early Danmei that was recommended to me, but it took me a really long time to get this volume from the Canadian publisher, so I finally got around to reading it and I really enjoyed it. I was expecting it to be a lot like Year 2 OP because of the similar setting and focus on esports, but this one had a lot more focus on romance, whereas the other one was a lot more like feel-good comedy, and it had some romance, and then the romance developed as the story went. But this one has a lot of drama first thing and has a lot of focus on the main character's relationship, as they also have gaming happening in the background. This one isn't spicy throughout, but especially toward the end, it has a bit of spice, more so than Year 2 OP. But again, this series follows university students. It starts with the main character having some suspicions about his boyfriend, that he might be cheating on him, while at the same time noticing that his boyfriend's roommate looks at him in a different way. And it's kind of funny, that actually is the blurb on retailer sites. The blurb literally is, Peiran recently noticed 2 things. First, his boyfriend of 3 years seems to be cheating on him. Second, the way his boyfriend's flatmate looks at him, something is not quite right there. But I loved that. That's all I knew going into it, besides it being university set and having gaming elements, and it was so much fun. While this does have some good humor in it, and it does have a lot of really cute moments and spicy moments, there is a bit more angst in it and drama. But it's not drama-filled the whole time. It is a pretty fun read. And this one too, I liked the development of the relationship of the main characters throughout. My favorite read from August was The Approach, and I'm so excited for the upcoming English print release. So I had read the fan translations, and this copy that I have is actually a Chinese edition that I had to get my hands on because of how beautiful the cover for the 2 volumes was. And I love this control tower on the spine. So the approach is a modern Danmei series that follows a pilot and an air traffic controller who, when they meet, get off on the wrong foot with each other and then start to bond later over their common interests and experiences. I really, really liked the focus on civil aviation and just the way that that world is introduced to readers, and done so in a really easy to understand way, kind of learning about what the daily life of a air traffic controller is like and his challenges and aspirations and what his interactions with coworkers and pilots would look like. I love the really mature tone of the story too. Not just that there is some spice in it, but that from the start you can really feel the maturity of the 2 men that are interacting with each other. They both have had a lot of life experiences that have shaped them, both negative and positive, and the way that their different viewpoints are able to influence each other. But I enjoyed this read so much. It's a top 5 Danmei for me, and I'm really looking forward to the English print release. I'm really looking forward to reading it again. It's a Haitang license and is going to be 3 volumes, and I'm really hoping that they do a nice job with the translation as well as the cover illustration and inside artwork. Really hoping that they do a nice job with it because this is such a good story, and I just want them to do justice to how great of a story it is. My favorite read of September was Soul Vibration. This is another 3-volume series, modern Danmei, and it follows a famous bassist in a popular rock band and his personal assistant, who used to be a solo songwriter and singer, managed by the same company, until he is diagnosed with an ear disease and finds out that he is going to be losing his hearing. So at that point, he leaves the company as a musician, but then becomes his personal assistant. I really like this one. It is such an emotionally moving story, and I really like the disability representation, the challenges that he goes through of not just losing his hearing, but also having to give up on a dream and something that he really loved. I really like the dynamic of the 2 main characters because it is not really romance focused through most of the story, as it kind of starts out as him being a huge fan of him and that kind of balancing out as they come to have a mutual respect for each other because of the way that they both approach music in the same way, and then ultimately leading into what the relationship becomes. I really enjoyed it and just found the storytelling really beautiful, really exciting with the focus on music and songwriting throughout. And then it's also a really special series because my husband is currently reading it. He's halfway through volume 2 and he's been really enjoying it. He was planning to read Year 2 OP, and that was going to be his first Danmei series because of the gaming elements. But then after I read this one, I recommended he start with this one and then maybe get to Year 2 OP next, because I just knew he would really like the music elements, and then the fact that romance is kind of on the back burner as the focus is on music and their bond over music and respect for each other. So another top 5 Danmei, and just really enjoyed it. In October, I had 2 favorite reads. The first was The Killer of Killers. This one has an upcoming English print release. It's licensed by Rosemay. It's going to be 2 deluxe hardcover volumes. And I'm really excited. I do have it pre-ordered. When I read it last year, I read the fan translations and just really, really enjoyed it. The series follows an FBI agent who has been chasing after a serial killer who only targets other serial killers. And it was such an exciting read. It was really gripping. It was pretty gruesome, but I felt like it easily could have been a lot more graphic, but I really liked the way that the storytelling made clear what was happening and what happened without being overly explicit, because I'm someone who enjoys murder mystery, but I don't do well with horror or gore. But this is just a really nicely written story showing this chase, and it was really fun reading, kind of seeing the main characters' character arcs and the way the dynamic between them changes as different things happen. But it was so gripping. I read straight through the whole story without any interruptions because I was so invested in the story and the characters' happiness. But really, really looking forward now to the upcoming print release and excited to read Rosemary's translation of it. My other favorite read of October was Under the Oak Tree, and this is one that I had read some of the manhwa before getting into the novel, but I was really excited to get into the novel because I just always like to read the source material when it's a series I like because of the extra nuance and extra detail, inner monologuing that you get in novels, as well as the spice because the manhwa is rated, I think, older teen or just is not rated mature, but the novel is rated mature. So I was really pumped to get this spicy content and extra detail. I really liked it. I have since read Volume 2 as well, and Volume 1 I enjoyed more than Volume 2 just because of Riften and Maxie having more interaction together. I especially like how Riften is portrayed in the novel compared to the manhwa. He's just a lot more affectionate in the novel and attentive and just doting, whereas in the manhwa he is portrayed a bit more aloof and cold. But with Riften's affectionate side being more prominent in the novel, it kind of changes the way that I saw the dynamic he had with Maxie compared to the manhwa. So overall, it just made me enjoy their relationship and kind of the development of it through this part of the story. But I've read through Volume 2 now, and I'm going to be really impatiently waiting for Volume 3 so I can continue the story, because Volume 2 of the novel almost caught up to where the manhwa has been at with the digital release. So Volume 3 of the novel is going to finish Season 4 and get into Season 5 of the manhwa, and then it'll be new content for me, which I'm really looking forward to. And then in November, I had 2 favorite reads. So back to Dear Benjamin. So this was a big favorite read of mine this year. And it was a big surprise too, because I didn't really know much about it when I got into it. All I knew is that it was an Omegaverse series. And then it kind of had some of the gangster and crime elements that I like, which is true. It follows the main character, who is a florist, who becomes entangled with an alpha mafioso who has blood ties to the Italian mafia, who is living in the United States and is an arms dealer. The alpha is super drawn to the florist and is very suspicious over the way that he acts as he is on the run from something and is desperate to keep parts of his life hidden. But I enjoyed it so much. Both Volume 1 and Volume 2 were really gripping. The main story ends with Volume 2, and there will potentially be another volume with a sequel and side stories. So I'm really hoping for news on that soon because I really enjoyed this read. It had some really good action, but also good spice, and I liked both of the main characters' development arcs through the series and their dynamic too. The alpha was really promiscuous before meeting the florist and just becomes obsessed with him and just infatuated with him because of how mysterious he is. And then in addition to the spice and the action, there are a lot of really cute and tender moments as well. There is some comedy and silliness, which is fun as well. And then both of the volumes have inner illustrations with gorgeous artwork. So really enjoyed this one and definitely recommend it for any Omegaverse fans. And then my other favorite November read was The Earth is Online. I read Volumes 1 and 2, and I'm so impatient to get the next release. Volumes 1 and 2 were released together, and then Volumes 3 and 4 were a pre-order bundle together. So I'm relieved that when I get the next volume, I'll get 2 volumes with extra content I'll be able to read. But The Earth is Online is an apocalyptic series with death games. So the series starts following a librarian 6 months after these pyramid-shaped spires have appeared all over the earth. Since appearing 6 months ago, nothing else has happened, so people have kind of gotten used to seeing them. Until one day when the spires become active and announce that the Earth is online. People start being pulled into the spires to participate in death games, and the Earth's population dramatically decreases just over the span of a few days. And whenever people are not being pulled into games, they're just on the Earth in survival mode, trying to find food and water and shelter while surviving the apocalyptic violence of just people around them. I really liked this one because I really liked the main character. And while he's basically a good person, most of his decision-making is kind of morally gray because he has to look out for himself first rather than putting himself at risk for some other innocent person. The death games that they're pulled into are really trippy as well, just really otherworldly. A lot of them are based on fairy tales and video games, and when in the games, the environment and the experiences are really surreal and high stakes. So I'm just really eager to continue the story. It's going to be 8 volumes total, so 1 quarter through and waiting for the next 2 volumes to ship to me. And then for December, I had 2 favorite reads. So The Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish. I loved this one. I didn't expect to love it so much because I have not read a lot of historical Danmei, but several of my friends really enjoyed it and had been recommending it. Even when I started volume 1, I wasn't really sure what I would think, and I went in kind of blind, but pretty quickly after the first couple chapters, I was invested and really liked both of the main characters. So this is a transmigration series. A young man from the modern world is transmigrated into a fish in a historical setting in a palace, and his objective is to, as a fish, obtain the affection of the mute prince that lives in that palace. And he ended up being my favorite character in this series. Because he does not speak, he comes across as super brooding because just his presence and his atmosphere defines his persona through most of the series. But as it goes, the sweetness that he shows toward his pet fish and his gentleness toward only the person that he cares about is like exactly the type of dynamic that I like. I was really confused from the first volume how this was going to work out because of him literally being a fish, but it all kind of works out, and it just makes sense as you read it and as things happen. As time goes on, he's able to have a human form at intervals, so there's not any dubious man-fish activities. Well, there kind of are, but I just was super happy with both of the main characters and their dynamic together. It is a pretty feel-good read and low angst, but there is a lot of drama as far as like the prince's family and just treachery in the palace, and I really enjoyed all of that. So enjoyed this read, and I read the ebooks and then immediately picked up the volumes, and I'm hoping to do a reread maybe this summer so that I can tab and annotate because I just really liked this story. And then lastly, in December, I also read Define the Relationship, volumes 1 and 2. Really impatiently waiting for volume 3 now. I really enjoyed this Omegaverse series. I had read the manhwa before, so was familiar with the characters and the plot, but just like I said for some of the other novels earlier in the video, when I like a series, I always really enjoy the source material because it just has extra inner monologue, extra nuance, extra details that don't quite translate into the adaptations. So this was one too that I really enjoyed the novel. I felt like some of the information too about the characters was presented in a different order than they were in the manhwa, so it was a bit more impactful to see the way different characters interacted with each other, specifically his history with Carlisle's brother. Maybe I'm just forgetting in the manhwa, but I thought in the manhwa that information wasn't given until later on. But anyways, this story follows these 2 alphas that meet one year on New Year's and have a special moment together when the clock strikes midnight. And then later they re-encounter and have kind of complicated ties with each other, unrelated to their first meeting. But they enter into a kind of contractual relationship with each other that then turn into one-sided feelings. There's so much angst in this series, as well as sweetness. There's a lot of sweetness and then really cute moments, but also really sad moments. A lot of spice, but all of the angst and pain I feel like is worth it, because then the romance is really beautiful and just rewards you for sticking through all of the pain. But looking forward to volume 3, which will have the rest of the side stories, and can't wait to read those. So those were my favorite novels of 2025. I can't wait to see what 2026 has in store for me. Have you read any of these novels? Are any of them your favorites, or maybe ones that you'd like to read in 2026? Let me know in the comments. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I do have another video that I go through all of my favorite manga and manhwa reads of 2025, so feel free to check that out. But I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you again soon in another video. Thanks for watching!